Good afternoon, chat. How are we doing today? Hey, I am doing great because I don't have to do any more character design, at least not for a week. At least, I hope that's the case. Alright, so what are we doing today? We are just going to be faffing about with Blender in general. I do want to try practicing a little bit of animation today, but not like super intensive, like walk cycles and all that sort of thing. I just want to do just some general practice of the basic principles. So I'll just quickly scale this up. Probably like 20 should be sufficient. And go to the animation tab. Here we go. Okay, so this thing quite frankly scares me because like you've got your joke sheet, but then you have things like, where is it? Oh, I don't have any animation on it yet, I don't think. Or is it? Here we go. This thing. This thing scares me just a little bit. You know, just... that thing gets really wonky, I'm gonna have some troubles, and that's why I want to practice a bit. Alright, so... I've just got a list of the principles of animation open on another screen so I can see roughly what it is I need to be doing. Alright, so just toggle this, zoom it out a bit. Just get a better view of the area I'm going to be animating within. Cool, that should be fine. Now, I do know a vague amount about how the system works, but not nearly as much as I should, quite frankly. Let's go with something a bit basic for the second. Let's just move the cube from point A to point B to point C. So just, what is I to insert keyframe? Yeah. Let's move it, let's say 20 meters. But if I don't move the timeline first, it just snaps back into position. Oh, I forget that that happens. Alright, let's just GX20 for now. And then insert keyframe there. GY20 minus. Now, I do know that there's a way to fix this issue, but I'd rather just do it like this. So GY20 minus, there we go. Insert keyframe there. Go to 60. This is just going to move it in a square pattern. And GY20. That should move it to the exact same position that it starts in. Just quickly set this probably to 81. Yeah. So if I play this, yep, just moves in a square. Now if I want to do so obviously that's like the basic movement, but if I want to do easy, I'm probably going to have to go into the graph editor, I believe it is. Yeah, here we go. I'm just going to drag this up a bit so I can see what I'm doing. Alright, so first position, it goes like that. I think I'd rather the ease in and ease out be a bit bigger. So if I scale that in the X, actually let's grab all these points and scale them in the X a bit. Oh, but that just extends the length in general, right? Yeah, because if I scale these both at the same time, it just does that. And while I do want easy, I don't really want it to be like that. I don't need to... Ah, okay, so dragging the handles changes the thing there. So if I do this, like it, yeah, it eases in a bit. And then I can grab, I believe it's this handle? Is this the correct one? Yeah. Now if I do this, it's going to be extremely quick in the middle. Okay, interesting. So maybe I should have it at like different speeds. So have this one a fast movement. Alright, let's extend this out to probably 150. Oh, I do need to remember to change the frame rate for this. I'm going to change it to 30 frames per second, I think. Now, okay, so it actually shows both at the same time. So if I go in here, if it will let me. Hello, Blender, thank you. For some reason, it just seems more interested in showing the x-axis instead of the y-axis. That's a little inconvenient. Okay, here we go. And grab this. No, I want this one actually. Where is the middle point for this? Here? Yep. If I play this... Oh, that's funny. It does like a little curve. I did not intend for it to do a little curve, but that's kind of neat. So I guess it's just like, when it comes to animating, you have to do like a basic block out essentially of the locations and timing, and then maybe edit the ease-ins. It does make the most sense. So if I grab these, and where's the other ones that I need to grab? Probably this one as well. I don't want to accidentally grab the one there, but I think I've got it. So if I play this now, where is the thing for this one? Oh, it's like all the way over here, maybe? Where is your handle, little buddy? I think that's the handle for this side. So that's the handle for the red one. This is the point for this one. That's that one there. So ease this a bit. Now if I play this, yeah, that just gives the same result as the other one. But really what I want it to do is slowly make its way over. So I guess I'm just gonna have to drag this along a bit more. So now if I want to use this one, the handle is where? Oh, it's like, is that the handle? Yeesh, okay. I want to have like a thing where it pauses slightly and then eases forward, if that makes sense. So maybe I need to add an additional keyframe within here. If it will let me. Oh, it inserts a keyframe wherever the marker here is. So if I put this at say 30 and then insert keyframe there. So wait, what happens if I... Oh, it like leans back slightly before moving forward. So if I play this... And then after it gets to around about here, another keyframe and then drag this one down. So we'll overshoot slightly. And now we're looking at the x-axis for this one. I'm just really not used to using this particular style of animation, but I really should get used to it. So I do this now. That provides like a slow ease in, but then like a hard stop. And this one can stand to wait just a little bit longer. Use that like that. So then it goes to here. And then this one, what can I do for this one? It'd be funny to have it like spin along the z-axis. I'll probably do that actually. So if I do that. Alright, cool, and then whilst doing this, I'm going to have it make probably a 720 degree rotation. Go back to the dope sheet. And then when it starts moving, I'll rotate it in the z-axis. Have this on the last frame, and then let's see, 720, and insert a keyframe for that. Oh, but it just starts spinning right when I don't want it to. Alright, so I actually need a keyframe rotation on this one. So, Z Euler rotation. Oh, don't really want those ones, thanks. Guess I'm just gonna have them anyway. And then place RZ 720. And then insert a keyframe for that. So now, if I play this animation, it should go fast that way, overshoot slightly. Ah, but the rotation isn't what I was expecting it to do. I think the Z rotation is easing in too slowly. So if I go back to the graph editor, I want the rotation. Oh boy, that is a lot of rotation. Maybe only 360 degrees of rotation would have been more appropriate. Yeah, because it eases too much in on here. No, I didn't want that one. I forget that I can just, like, eliminate all of these. And then ease that in. So now if I do this, it should go spin fast at first and then, yeah, ease in at the end. If I ease in at the start, that's just going to make it spin really fast in the middle, right? Okay. I think it's working as intended. Yeah, it just looks like it's exploring around the place just a little bit. Place does that. Maybe I want to have it overshoot slightly on all of them. Seems a bit excessive though if I do that. That's fine. So we got that thing that just moves around the place. Now I do know a classic way to test out your animation skills is to animate a ball bouncing, so I suppose I can do that. Just save this quickly. Just chuck it in an animation folder for now. Where is my other projects folder? Animations. Just save this. It's a box test. There we go. Alright, need that. Scale that up to 20. And add in a good old sphere. And this is the ball I'm going to attempt to bounce. Honestly, this will probably be easier with physics, but hand doing animation will give me a better idea of what I want to do. So, this is a pretty large ball actually. It is 2 meters after all. So if I drag this up to say 10 meters. And just quickly Control-0 this. We stand to zoom out a little bit and change the angle. That should be fine for now. So, what I need to do is I need to block out where I want the animation to start and end. So, if I go to this, I say put a keyframe in there. After, say, frame 20, we'll just do 20 frames for now for the down and up, and then I can just edit the timings in a little bit. And GC10. Insert a keyframe there, and now I've got a ball that sort of just floats. So when it hits the ground, like, the easing needs to be slower at the top and then faster at the bottom, I believe is how this works. So if I just get rid of these for now, so I only want the Z location. I scale that in the X. I want to scale it so it's thinner. Okay, that's not nearly hard enough for me. Like, it needs to be fast. So probably what I need to do is change this so it's 10 frames. That will cause it to do this. Right. And then let's do 1 for now. Because the rebound on a ball is actually quite fast. Let's just grab this along at 5 frames. Okay. I think it's getting there. So if I... because it needs to be really sharp at bottom. It needs to be basically no time at all spent on the ground. Just set this to 20 frames. So it bounces over and over again. Okay, I think I'm somewhat getting it. Yeah, because it goes fast at the bottom and then returns and like eases up the top. Yeah, I think that works. So with that bouncing, I also have to probably have the the squash and stretch. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that with just a flat ball. Like, I know probably like scale it in the Z maybe. Or just like flatten it out in general. So like the idea, I believe, is that you have it stretch out to the... so on, like, say these frames here, it stretches towards the ground slightly. And when it hits the bottom on frame 10, it flattens, like even just a smidge. And then it stretches upwards before returning to its spherical shape at frame 20. So if I do that... so how would I go about doing that? So like the idea is that you scale in the Z slightly, scale in the X and Y so it's squished. So I assume that's a thing for shape keys, right? I have no idea how shape keys work. I've seen it under dope sheet, under, here we go, shape key. So, I believe I've seen it before in here. Shape keys. Or actually, I think shape keys might be an entirely different thing. Because what they do is they're supposed to transform one object into another. Like, the first thing I think of when I see shape keys is transforming like a Suzanne head into a sphere and that sort of thing. So I don't think that's applicable here. It says add rest position, so I don't know what the deal with shape keys are. Apparently I have a frame on frame 40 for some reason. So like I can get the basic animation down. It's just having the additional, like, the squash and stretch for this. Let's see. I wonder if... Alright, I can probably do something about the scale. So it probably like frame 5 or 6. Maybe even 6 here. Alright, let's try frame 6 then. So scale, shift Z. And then insert keyframe. And then at frame 10, I want to scale, shift Z, and scale Z. Insert keyframe there, and I probably want to copy these onto frame, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably right here. That. Yes, I know, I'm streaming, don't worry, fine. Because, like, if I do it just as it is, it will squash and stretch before I want it to. Because, like, when you get to here, like, I want it to stay in that position until it hits frame 9. So on frame 9 it goes into that position, and then on frame 11 it returns to the stretch position. So if I do that, I probably even made the squash on the bottom a little over exaggerated. I even think it... Does it hit the ground on it doesn't. I need to move that slightly. So it's actually touching the ground. And then if I do this... Now when I press play, this should be... Okay, I think I did pretty well on this. Actually, I've just had a thought, chat. I want to have a look and see if I can find a dodgeball texture, because I think this would be very appropriate. Let me have a look-see through the PBR websites that I have in my bookmarks and see if I can find a dodgeball texture or just like a general rubber texture. Because if I can find one, that'd be incredibly entertaining. None there, maybe... Oh, that's not one I use, because they've switched over to using a credit system. Ugh. Let's see if they have... all aerial terrain, brick, wood, plaster and concrete, fabric, metal, roof and rock. I don't think they have it. Let's switch up all. Baseball playground, okay. So I guess I just have to improvise on this. Like I can search up for a rubber texture and use that. Okay, yeah, and then I can just turn that into like a darkish red colour, which would emulate a dodgeball well enough, I think. I imagine having to download textures in the middle of a stream couldn't be me, right, chat? So open that window. Just pull out the PBR textures folder. Oh. There we go. Now, I don't think adding a texture is going to change the animation in any meaningful way. At least I hope it doesn't. So, texture. And then that. Oh. That is not the folder that I was expecting it to be. Okay, just grab all of those, except for that one. And there. Probably changing that to object and then box projection on these would be the best. Box project. Always make sure you put your blend on for this, otherwise it can look a bit weird later. And I'm going to change that to probably 0.5. Like, I want the thing to be relatively big. The only issue I have with this texture, right, and this is just a very minor gripe, it looks like there's rocks on this. Like, I know logically it's probably like paler bits of rubber that haven't been dyed correctly, but like in this texture specifically, it looks like rocks. That's the only issue I have with that. Let's see, hue, set, and value. Okay, so that does have a hue value. But the only problem is that it's so, like, pale. Like, there's no color information available from this thing. I'd have to, like, really pump up the saturation for this to work. Let's pump up to 10 maybe. Yeah, because like even if I saturate this to all hell, there's all these like sections here, and the problem with the little dots that I initially thought were rocks is that they turn blue doing this. So I wonder if there's a way to force that all to be red. I imagine color ramp, perhaps? How do I do this again? Oh, that wasn't even supposed to be in there in the first place. And then, how do I... There we go, Control Shift left click. If I turn that almost entirely white... Control Shift left click. Maybe I need to switch it up the other way. Alright, hello and goodbye, Mr. Bot. Let's just... get that. And just quickly, get you out of here. Now, if I switch up the hue, this doesn't really do much, does it? Because I wonder if the principal BSDF is required here. Because no matter how high I pump this, it's not going to work, I don't think. Oh, that's an interesting color. Yeah, like, the problem with this particular one, I think, is the fact that those white spots are there. If they weren't there, I would probably have a much better time working with this. Actually, you know, funny purple and green ball is probably better for me here. Just set that to 1. Yeah, funny purple and green ball is fine, I think. Play that. Alright, I think I'm getting the hang of this vaguely. Now the real thing is to have it bounce multiple times in one direction and have it go lower and lower each time. So, bounce that up and down. That looks fine, I believe. Cool. Just save this as static ball test. Alright, cool. Now time to do a moving sphere. Go back to the animation tab. Now, what would be the fastest way to do this? Probably, like, just remove all the keyframes and then just keyframe from the get-go. Like, the location, position I want these to be in. Okay. Just click the scale on that. Where do I want this to be? Because I know it spans from... Yeah, it spans from there to there. So if I take this, move it across over here... I just realised I was moving it to the wrong side. Probably around about here? Yeah. So the idea is to have it bounce and move slightly slower each time it bounces. So it bounced once, bounce slightly lower on the second bounce. So really it's just a question of how much elasticity do I want in the sphere. So elasticity being how much rebound an object has after being dropped. How much does the average, like, toy ball have in terms of elasticity? I'd imagine it'd be around about 60 to 70%. So 60 to 70% of the height each time. And then it just slowly rolls to a stop. I wonder if I am capable of doing that. Alright, so insert a keyframe here. I'm actually gonna have to extend this out, but I'm gonna do 150 for now. So I want to insert a keyframe here. And on frame 10, I want it to be, say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 meters, and then all the way down. So, goes like that. And then probably 7 meters, 3, probably even 3. Insert keyframe here. Probably want that to be on frame 20. How far is this going? I think the X is only like 5 meters or something along those lines. I want this to start frame 0. Yeah, because it just scrapes along the ground. It doesn't really, like, stick in the position. So it just sweeps the ground between frames 9 and 11 when I really want it to actually just hit the ground on that frame. So how would I go about doing that? I'll have to give it a quick think while I'm doing this. So GX 234 meters. Actually, this frame I want to be so what the hell is 70% of 7? Well, time to say 7, so about 4.9 meters. Let's do like 2.5 meters. And then probably 4.5 meters and insert keyframe there. Okay, let's see. Like, at some point it is going to lose all momentum and start rolling. So, on frame 50, it wants to be on the ground. Probably like 2 meters away. keyframe there. I'll probably even say that maybe even 7 meters is too high. Let's see. So this is going to be up. I'll probably even just put this at 2 meters and then just ease it out a bit. So like, it still needs... I'd probably even say the X movement needs to be a bit further than what I'm giving it currently. Because I don't think any amount of flats, like any kind of flat surface, provides that amount of resistance to, like, when you're bouncing a ball. Like, I could very well be wrong. There might be some super rough surface that only provides like 2 bounces. I mean, like, dead spots do exist in basketball courts and whatnot. Alright, so... just G and X. And then insert keyframe there. Okay, so maybe want to have the X be a bit more consistent here. So, how many... I can probably even see. So, if I go into the object properties, here we go. So, the location is -17. So it's like 5 meters a time. So I probably want to set that to -7, I believe. -7. -7, and then that goes to -2. And that goes to 3 meters. I love how janky it looks because of all the frames that I haven't done yet. So maybe I do want to decrease this only slightly. It's kind of hard to tell. I suppose it's because I haven't really done this before, but it is kind of hard to tell how far a ball should move in a horizontal direction. Because I mean, like, vertical you can sort of calculate it, but horizontal is a little bit more different, I believe. Because horizontal is entirely dependent on, like, the speed of which the ball is tossed in that direction. But with height, you can just calculate based off the elasticity of an object. I'll probably even say... at this point, maybe knock that back to 2 meters, perhaps. So 3, and then 5. Okay, so that's 3, and then I want to set that to 5 meters. And just quickly. That's 5 meters, and the difference between those two is 2 meters, so I just want to maybe 1.5 additional, so if that's 5 meters, I want to set that to 6.5. 6.5 meters, just quickly keyframe that in. And 6.5 meters to 8 meters. And then roll that to 9 meters. So if I look at this now... Okay, it's not quite what I want it to be just yet, but with a little bit of magic with the graph editor, I can probably get this to work. It seems to really stall here, because like it goes from 7 to 7 to 2, so that's 5 meters, and it goes from 2 to like -2 to 3, which is still 5 meters, and then it just feels like it stalls. Maybe it needs to have an additional meter attached to it, perhaps. Oh yeah, it does. It did need an additional meter, so that's 6. So I probably want to bump that up to 7.5. Yeah, so I just need to move this along a little bit, and then 9.5. Possibly. 7.5 to 9.5, and then have that roll over to 10.5. Okay, that's a bit better. I wonder if I want to have it like toss in that direction first, but I think that should be fine. I hope. So I really need to have the bounce be even. And actually, if anything, I need to scale this all so it probably fits into like maybe 40 frames. So if I scale that into 40 frames. Like, yeah, I think 40 frames should be sufficient for this ball. I just realized the camera angle just is a really good spot for this. Because, like, I was just staring at, like, this section here. I wasn't even paying attention to the fact that the ball comes towards the camera. That was surprisingly good camera placement by me. That truly was not deliberate. So, I guess now I have to play around with some momentum. Alright, let's switch back to... I'm just gonna save this as moving ball test. Alright. So I can do incremental saves on this one. Go over to the graph editor. So what do I want to do first? Probably the Z location would be the first one I want to do. I wonder if there's any way to preview that specifically. If I uncheck all of these, does it? Okay, yeah, it bounces in place. And then I can just adjust the movement curves based on that specifically. Okay, that's very helpful. Did not know that was a thing that Blender did, but my goodness, is it extremely helpful to me. Alright, so the ease on the top needs to be a bit better. And then the bottom really needs to be shrunk down. Alright, and then again the top needs to be extended. I'll probably even just scale this in the X. Alright, okay, I think I'm getting it here. I mean, the principles are boring, admittedly, but it is important to know this information. So if I do this... Also, that scale the bottom, scale this in the X. Scale this in the X. Alright, let's see how this works. I don't really want to do all the tiny details for the second. Like the tiny bouncing. Alright, so if I turn these back on now... Yes, thank you, fine. Okay, that actually looks halfway decent for a bouncing ball. I'm not going to complain about that. So what I do want to do as well is I actually want to do some rotation on it. I also probably want to extend the X location just to like have it roll a little bit at the end. Quickly put these in. How professional of me doing my medication in the middle of a stream. Okay, I thought this was going to be a lot more difficult than it actually is. Maybe maybe my wheelhouse is animation. Who knows? But I do need to do the X location. So on frame 40, I actually want this to be probably even at like 12 meters. Actually, no. Because if I do it at 12 meters, it's just going to happen to be like that. So if I go to, say, frame 50 and have it be 12 meters at that point, then I think... Oh, I didn't even realize there was a reverse play on this. Okay, it like falls a bit short, I think. Cause like it stalls roughly around here. Because you compare like the first few bounces to, I think it's probably roughly around about frame 20 to 25 maybe? Actually, even... Yeah, it feels like it stalls around here. Is the spacing off? Yeah, because I think what's happened here is that 3 meters to 6 meters probably needs to ease slightly more. And then... let's just do 8 meters for now. And then do 10.5. And then do 13 meters on this. So if I do this now... Okay, no, I actually wanted it to move in location. Why has it frozen for like 5 seconds? Okay, that needs to be removed. Why is there like multiple keyframes to this? Hello? Alright, that needs to go. Alright, let's try this again. Yeah, it like, I feel like it stalls. That's the only problem here. It stalls now at around about, like, the 30 frames. Like, the 30th frame. Yeah, that needs to be pushed forward, probably even to 9 meters. Because, like, it seems to be some weird easing problem. I'd even say... because I want to see the easing without the keyframes. Is there a way to do that? Possibly. Oh. There is the normalize. I did not mean to do that, but I guess it doesn't actually affect it in any way. Automatically we calculate curve normalization over curve edit. Oh, this is probably as good as I'm gonna get. Because, like, realistically you'd have it bounce like a few smaller times. Just like have really tiny bounces, but for my first time around I don't think this is too bad. So that ends at frame 50. I'm gonna cut this off at frame 55 perhaps. And that frame 55. Yeah, and now that I've done the curves, it only hits the ground on the frame and it doesn't like sweep the ground. Alright. So I wonder if having the rolling of the ball pause mid-bounce might be the best idea. So it bounces along and then it rolls to a stop. Alright, so time to do the good old squash and stretch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the Z active, and then I'm going to do the squash and stretch with the ball being static, and then I can check the squash and stretch across the X movement afterwards. So I'll just disable being able to see that for now. So if I... yeah, on frame 4, scale that in the... like that. And then 1.1 for the Z-axis. And then on this frame, scale Shift Z 2. I'll probably even get the... Bun doesn't appear to have any property. What? What do you mean bun doesn't appear to have any property date? Bruh. And then I actually want the Z to be down slightly further. There we go. And if I actually go back to the dope sheet, I can duplicate that and put it on the other side. And then I can just duplicate these frames to go over top of the original frames here. Just delete this one. Okay, those frames. Again, I actually want to duplicate the Z location, I believe. Alright, like I know realistically if you're bouncing a ball along it would deform to one side instead of at the very bottom, but this is probably as close as I can get for the time being. So, yep. Stretches a bit more. And then I do this again. So that stretches again, and then I need to delete the Z location once more. And then it needs to be done one more time. There we go. Again, just quickly get rid of that Z location and duplicate this one. Except it doesn't... No? Did I not? Oh, I didn't actually fix the Z location from that one either. I need to duplicate this one. And then duplicate it again here. Now this one I think I need to edit a bit. Because like it's all well and good to have this on a faster moving scene. Like here, where it doesn't matter as much. Because the Z moves up faster on these first two. But when it comes to frame 25 and onwards, I think I actually need to make the stretch and squash a little less pronounced. So maybe in this case have the Z be slightly smaller. Or actually even just move this particular set of keyframes over one frame. Yeah, okay. One frame movement makes a lot more sense. And then move this one over. Probably even 2 frames. Actually, is this one, this set of frames might not even be realistically needed. So yeah, just sort of, probably even not flatten it as much. So 0.9 perhaps, and then just adjust the Z accordingly. Adjust the Z to be slightly higher. Okay, so if I play this now... Yeah, because then it just squashes and stretches like that. And if I bring back the graph editor for a moment and re-enable this stuff here, play it. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. I think I'm getting the hang of this chat. Like, look at that thing bounce. Got a bouncing ball on our hands, chat. So it just bounces and slowly rolls to a stop. Now, it would be nice to have some rotation to this. It already looks like it's rotating, which is not the case. But I definitely could add some rotation to this thing. Okay, I'm actually... For once, I am vaguely proud of this. I wonder if, I should just have a few frames at the start where it just tosses the sphere and then it bounces along. Could do. Alright, let's start. I'll put some shading on this thing first, just so I can see the rotation a bit more accurately. I forgot I already had some in there. So I'll just do this. Just activate this as well. So yeah, you can clearly see now that it's not rotating, but that can be easily fixed. So if I have the rotation, so this would be rotated in Y. The problem is if I rotate this now, it it squishes wrong. Maybe I just do the rotation anyway and then just deal with the scales afterwards. Like, I know the chances are the thing I'm probably supposed to do first is rotation and then squash and stretch, but I couldn't help myself. So, just get rid of these for now. So, it shows me... but then it doesn't show me the correct things. There we go. So, I want it to rotate fairly fast for a start off and then, like, slow down. So maybe, like, even 180 degrees for a start off. How fast is that? And then 360 degrees on this. And then this one. Fun fact, you can just type in equations into these boxes and they will just sort it for you. So it goes to 540 and then 720. Actually, I wonder if... probably like maybe 80. So plus 80 onto that, and then I minus that by 15 or something. Actually, no, because it will already be there. So then I... so 360 plus that by 80, and then plus that by maybe another 60? Or maybe actually 75 might be better. Plus 80, and then plus 75 for that one. And then we've got 515, and then add probably like 50 on this. Like, obviously the rotation's meant to be a bit slower once it hits, but like, I don't think it should be that much slower. 515. Maybe even 60 for this one. And then 575. And then add 55 onto that one. How much is this? It is 630. 630 and then 50 onto that one. And then I actually do need to figure out how much it's going to move. 680. So if I go the X location now. So it hits on this frame and then I need to maybe get to 750? 750. There is a frame in here. Okay, let's try that. Alright, so we've got the rotation down, I think. So now all I have to do is just readjust the squash scale. It does look a bit goofy though, I'm not gonna lie. You know, I'm gonna save a snapshot of this just purely for the fact of how goofy it looks. Okay, so if I get rid of that for now. Yeah, because I really need to, So how do I do this? Because I want to keep the stretch and squash relatively consistent throughout the rotation. Because, like, obviously dropping a ball from top down is simpler than having it bounce across a scene. Because, like, the way this is stretching to then squash is just really bizarre. Like, it's really not the way I initially intended for it to work. Because, like, obviously there's the one frame where it makes contact with the ground, which would be really easy to do. Because all I'd have to do is just make the one particular frame it is on the ground just be squashed in that particular direction. What I can do, instead of doing the local axis of scale, is I could do the global, and, like, obviously I'm already doing global. But if I do the global for specifically those points where it hits the ground, maybe it would come out a bit more evenly. Let's just set that all to 1 for now. Because I want this to make contact with the ground. And then 1.1 here. So I want those keyframes. So when it hits the ground, like, I really just want this to be like the frame before it hits the ground, I want these to be set to 1. And then the frame after, I want these to also be set to 1, not 2. Thanks. So now that I've done this, it only squashes on impact, and I would prefer it to, like, stretch up. But with the rotation as it is, it's just not going to work out. Where is that one keyframe? Get out here. So I want this to be set to 1 for the second. Ah, but scaling it on the local X doesn't seem to do much. Okay, let's set this to 1 for now. And this is going to be really specific. I need to... Yeah, because if I scale it along the global, it does seem to not want to do... Actually, no, I want that set to 1, thanks. For, at least for the second. Yeah, because if I scale this along the global axis, it just seems to not want to do as intended. Because if I scale like this, right, this is the local axis. But if I scale along the global, it still stretches strangely. Now, I don't know if the rotational animation is what's to blame here, but it could very well be. I'll just scale it like this, perhaps. Actually, I wonder if the reason why is because it's not a perfect angle, so to speak. So, like, there's obviously 90, 180, 720, and 360 degrees. But 440 is not one of those, and I wonder if because I'm scaling on a, like, non-even axis, it's causing me issues. It could very well be what it is. I'm gonna scale... Oh, nope, not like that. Scale the Z. Because it is gonna look a little bit funky, admittedly. I think it's about as close as I'm gonna get, though. And then I want to set this back to 1 afterwards. And then back to this, scale of 1. And then again, scale of 1 on these. So it just leaves frame 25 where the stretching is a bit weird. So Alt S. Yeah, the rotation on this is just going to be a bit jank, isn't it? Set this to 600. It still looks a bit weird. Maybe 590? How is it whenever I set it to only scale along the X and the Y, somehow the Z gets scaled too? Like, bruh. Let's try 580, not 58. Or 585, perhaps? What the... Huh? What strange behavior. Okay, I'm just going to edit this until it looks vaguely normal. Shame I can't scale those both at the same time. 8, 8, 3. So maybe I scale along Y, then that just... I don't know how that managed to happen. Yeah, because like that just stretches back out again. Yeah, because that just returns in a weird manner. Maybe I need to... Maybe 1.1. If I scale this to 0.9. And now, set these to 1. And then probably even 1 on this. No. So 1.05? Yeah. And then... yeah, and then it just returns to normal. So if I do this... okay, here's the thing, right? These are what, like, this frame here is way too stretched. Like, it's just absolutely flat. If I set this to 1, that just looks even more stretched, so I need to set these to 1 perhaps. And I did not mean to do that. Okay. I think I've got this down now. And put this all together and we should hopefully have a bouncing ball going across the space. I think that works. I'm just examining it a little bit as it moves. I could have probably done a better job here, but for a first time around, that's not too bad. So I'm just going to do a quick little amount of lighting here, just to make it look a little bit more interesting. So if I get a spotlight, let's move over here, increase the size a bit, let's do 180 should be fine. Go. Yeah, and the radius, like a larger radius makes the fall off of this a lot softer. The blend, yeah. Okay, maybe if maybe even like 120 degrees should be sufficient for this scene. Set to 1500 maybe? Yeah. So if I get that, spin it around so it looks in this direction. Have that set to maybe 1000. And it's just a classic 3-point lighting setup. So go 180 on this one. Like really pump up this one, I think 2500. maybe if I... Okay, so like increasing the cone size definitely... I wonder if an area light... Yeah, an area light is more sufficient. Make this 2 meters. That way I can just easily scale it up as necessary. Alright, let's set some colors for these things. I'm thinking maybe just like a red, green, and blue light, but just very hinted at. Just like not too high of a saturation value, I think. So just have all of these at 0.3, but just in different areas of the hue. So swing that around to 0.6 should be fine. And then have the green one, which is 0.3? Yeah, 0.3. If I bounce this along. Yeah, because like the lighting on this is really dark. I wonder if putting in a sunlight would be helpful here. Otherwise, I could just not do anything additional here. Or I could pump this up to like 5,000, see what happens. Just like double the power on everything. And then 3,000 on that. What I really want to do just quickly is grab this. And where's my viewport display? And then just get the passer part out to be completely blackened so I can see what I'm doing. I wonder if adding in HDRI might be a better move here. Just go to layout mode quickly and just go from the POV of the camera. Just turn that off for the second, and I'm going to grab the playback, quickly switch it over to the shader editor. I'll just pull out another one for the timeline here. Yeah, I feel like this might benefit from a proper lighting setup. Control T, open up for the... I really need to sort out my bookmarks, but for some reason Blender just doesn't let me delete bookmarks that are no longer there. Like, it's really strange. Let's go back up to resources and into the HDRI files. Find Attic seems like a fun one. Probably want to put some shading on this one as well. Just quickly. Alright, so if I bring the strength of that down a bit. Because I do still want there to be some lights from, like some lighting from the lights I've just set up. Okay, I actually want this to be changed here. Because, like, once it hits this, it really needs to just go back to a scale of 1. It just eases up too smoothly, I think. Alright, back to the animation tab just quickly. Just grab a hold of that ball there. And I believe it's the scale that's giving me the issues here. If I go to this one, So it stretches to that, and I actually want this frame to be the frame that it goes back to being a regular size. So 1, 2, maybe 3 frames. And I want to insert keyframes here, and I want to set that all to 1. So if I do this now, it should compute properly. Okay, I think that works. Also, I find it funny that the start position of this ball just so happens that it's actually coming from the window in the background. I might lean into that slightly and just rotate this a smidge so the window is just more dead centered. Like right around there. So it looks like somebody's just tucked it through the window. Oh, that's actually kind of amusing. Anyway, back to the shading workspace just quickly. I want to make like a table texture. What I really need to do is I wonder if multi-res would work here, or actually subdiv might be sufficient here. Generate a subdivision surface. I just want simple though. And I want to check on cage. Except apparently on cage doesn't work for this one. Oh, there we go. I need to turn off optimal display. Okay, so 5 levels should be enough. Go into air mode, yep. Alright, so now if I Control Shift T. Now I should have some wood around here. Dark wood stain maybe? Let's have a look, see. So if I... Any day now, thank you. Ah, but this isn't planks, is it? It's just general wood. Actually, I need to turn the normal mapping down, otherwise it is going to be an absolute nightmare. Yeah, because if I do it just like this, it just looks like a solid piece of wood that it's bouncing on. I want planks. Do I have plank textures on this? If I go up into resources, back down into the PBR textures, do I have textures for... Okay, that's just regular ass plywood, that is not planks. Cherry wood veneer perhaps? That doesn't... It's not even a seamless texture, I just realized. Like, look at this. There's quite clearly a seam that runs from here down. And nowhere else on the sphere does it really do that. Actually, it does do it round back here. But regardless, that's a flat piece of wood. Again, I just want planks. Semi-gloss wood. How do I have every wood variant but a plank texture? Like, that is ridiculous to me. I'm not even sure why I'm worried about this when I could literally just, like, bevel extrude down and make it look like planks. Like, I don't know why I'm concerned about this. Let's just quickly... how often do I want the planks to be? Like, how wide do I want them? Probably like 4 maybe? Could work. Okay, that was actually the perfect amount. Probably don't need to be that much though. There we go. Now we have a vaguely plank-like looking situation going on here. Now if I play this... should be just a ball bouncing along a table. I might move this just in the y-axis a smidge, that way it doesn't hit any gaps in the table. Okay, I've managed to get that done. Alright, so if I play this, it should just look like... the artifacting on this is real crunchy, isn't it? I probably need some denoising on this. Let's go 128 samples on this here, and 32 on this. Honestly, it'd probably be better in cycles rather than Eevee. I'm slightly annoyed, and like this is probably, in the grand scheme of things, a rather minor nitpick. I don't like Eevee Next. I am definitely more used to the traditional Eevee, like prior to the, I believe it's 4.2 update. Like, I was very much more a fan of the old Eevee render engine, because at least I know what the hell I was doing back then. Like, I feel like Blender should, like, the team at Blender should make it an option. Like, call it something different, or like, have Eevee and Eevee Next, or just call it a completely different thing. But like, having the original Eevee engine I think was really good for things that were based around video game renders. Like, you know, Minecraft, PlayStation 1 games, all that sort of thing, like the ones that don't require intense shadows. I think having the original Eevee engine would have been good for that. Alright chat, ready for my computer to start screaming? Yeah, the fan's going on that thing. It does not like cycles. I'm just going to change that back quickly before it really starts getting upset with me. I'm surprised that, given the fact that I just switched that to cycles, that I did not drop a single frame. I couldn't tell you how that happened. Alright, so I've got a ball at least. Like, that turned out relatively well, all things considered. Like, I could have done a bit more work on it, but I think I did a good job. So I'll save this as an incremental, and I'll probably just end off stream here, because honestly, I did not have a lot planned for today. And I do have some other things I need to be doing this evening, so I will go and do those before I get yelled at. Anyway, I shall see y'all in the next stream, where hopefully I'll have a better idea of what I'm going to be doing in terms of just general Blender shenanigans.